The day I got slapped beside my husband's casket, I didn't say a word. I didn't know then that this silence would become the most powerful weapon of my life. Hello, everyone. My name is Eileen Carter. I'm 66 years old, and right now, I'm living in a small cabin by a lake in Alaska. I was born in Anchorage, Alaska. My parents ran a small grocery store, and after school, I'd do my homework next to the cash register. The sound of coins clinking and the hum of the refrigerator motor were my lullabies. At 23, I got my medical clerk certification. At 25, I met Thomas. He was a plumber. Big hands, quiet demeanor, and when he smiled, the corners of his eyes would crinkle downward. On our first date, he spent 10 minutes fixing my stuck coat zipper. He never gave up. You don't throw away something you can fix. That was his philosophy. We got married a year later, and 2 years after that, Andrew was born. Our son was healthy, smart, and sometimes so clever he wouldn't listen to me. Thomas would just smile quietly and say, "He takes after his dad. He's got to understand things in his head before his heart follows." We spent 30 years paying off our mortgage. It was a small 2-story house in the Seattle suburbs. There was a maple tree in the yard, and every winter the gutters would freeze over and Thomas would climb up the ladder to clear them. I'd stand below, holding the ladder steady. Silently. Our daily life was quiet. But within that quietness was a promise to protect each other. Thomas started getting sick last fall. His cough lingered, and each time he came back from the hospital, his shoulders seemed a little lower. The doctor carefully used the word, time, and I tried to leave that word outside the house. One night, he lay in bed and took my hand. "Eileen." "Yes? When I'm gone, Andrew might treat you badly." I looked at him, startled. "What are you talking about?" "He's our son." "I know. But Brooke's there." Our daughter-in-law Brooke joined our family 5 years ago. She was sweet at first. Lots of smiles, lots of thank yous. But over time, a different tone crept into her voice. When I cooked, she'd say, "I don't think that's very healthy." When I bought clothes for the grandkids, she'd laugh and say, "We don't dress them in that style anymore." At first, I thought it was just a generational gap. But Thomas was different. He sensed something. "Look at this." He pulled a brown envelope from under his pillow. "The lawyer's coming tomorrow. She's going to get your signature on the documents inside." "What documents?" "A supplemental will. And safeguards. Just in case." I looked into his eyes. They were clearer than usual. "Thomas, what do you think is going to happen?" "I hope nothing. But if you get hurt, these papers will protect you." I didn't cry. Crying in front of him would only hurt him more. I just nodded and squeezed his hand tight. Thomas passed 3 months later. It was a February dawn. Snow was tapping against the window, and he called my name one last time. "Eileen. I'm here. Thank you." Those were his last words. We held the funeral at home. That's how Thomas wanted it. We placed the casket in the living room, and friends brought chrysanthemums. White and yellow flowers mixed together, filling the living room with their scent. I was in the kitchen cutting sandwiches. Food for people after the service. While I worked the knife, I counted to keep from crying. 1, 2, 3. That's when Andrew walked in. "Mom." I looked up. His face was rigid, and Brooke stood behind him. "What is it?" "We need to talk." "Now?" "Yes." Now. I put down the knife and wiped my hands. Andrew crossed his arms and looked at me. Mom, do you know how the title to this house is set up? Of course I do. It's jointly owned by me and your father. Dad's gone now, so it's mine. My heart seemed to skip a beat. What are you talking about? It's in the will. This house is inherited by me. Yes, that's right. So? Andrew took a step closer. His voice was low and hard. This isn't your house anymore, Mom. It's mine. I looked at him directly. He was my son, but in that moment, he felt like a stranger. Andrew, your father's casket is still in there. I know. That's why I'm telling you now. After the funeral, you need to leave. What? This house is ours now. Brooke and I need a fresh start. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice steady. Andrew, do you understand what you're saying? Mom, please don't make this difficult. That's when Brooke spoke up. We understand this is hard for you. But this is a necessary change. I looked at my daughter-in-law. She was smiling. The smile was so bright it gave me chills. Eileen, are you listening? Andrew grabbed my arm. Hard. This isn't your house anymore. Get out. And then he slapped me. Smack. The sound echoed through the kitchen. I stumbled but didn't fall. My cheek burned, and my ear rang. But I didn't say a word. I just looked at him. For a long time. Then I slowly took off my apron and placed it on the sink. I grabbed my coat, put on my shoes, and opened the front door. Snow was falling. Behind me, I heard Brooke's voice. Mother, we'll send your things later. I didn't respond. I just walked slowly through the snow. My cheek still had the mark of his hand, but something deeper was being carved into my chest. Thomas's voice. When I'm gone, Andrew might treat you badly. He knew. That's why he prepared. I stopped in front of a motel. In my bag was the brown envelope Thomas had given me. Still sealed. The electric heater in the motel room made clicking sounds. I sat on the edge of the bed, listening to it for a while. Outside, snow continued to fall, and the neon sign in the parking lot flickered. My cheek still burned. I didn't look in the mirror. I didn't have the courage. The brown envelope sat beside my bag. The one Thomas had given me. I hesitated for a long time. Opening it felt like starting something irreversible. But eventually, my hand moved. Inside the envelope were 3 documents. The first was labeled, Supplemental Will. It had a notary seal and both Thomas's and my signatures side by side. I began reading slowly. This will serves as a supplementary provision to the primary will and takes immediate effect under the following circumstances. Clause 17b if the heir engages in physical or emotional abuse toward the spouse, Eileen Carter, or evicts her from the residence without consent, all inheritance rights of said heir shall be immediately revoked, and the assets shall be transferred to the spouse. My hands trembled. Thomas knew. He knew exactly what would happen. The second document was a copy of the property deed. The house title read, Thomas Carter and Eileen Carter, joint tenancy with right of survivorship. Joint ownership. With survivorship rights. When Thomas died, his share automatically transferred to me. It wasn't an inheritance. It was already mine. The third was the original mortgage document. 30 years old, with both our signatures. Thomas Carter and Eileen Carter, co-borrowers. Joint borrowers. I set the papers down and looked out the window. Snow still fell, and only my breathing filled the room. Then I understood. Andrew hadn't inherited the house. He'd only seen house listed in the estate inventory. But the actual ownership had already transferred to me. And the mortgage was the same. We still owed $100,000, and that debt was tied to my name too. I found myself laughing quietly. Bitter, but at the same time, something solid was rising in my chest. Thomas had left me a weapon. A quiet but powerful weapon. The next morning, I called the lawyer. Dale and Associates, Megan Dale's office. Hi, this is Eileen Carter. I was Thomas Carter's wife. Oh, Mrs. Carter. My condolences. How can I help you? My husband left some documents. A supplemental will. Is it legally valid? There was a brief silence on the other end. Where are you now? At a motel. Can you give me the address? I'll be there within the hour. Megan was a woman in her early 40s. She wore a black coat and carried a briefcase. Her handshake was warm but firm. Let me see the documents. She sat on the bed and read through all 3 pages. Her expression didn't change, but her nodding quickened. Mrs. Carter. Yes? Your husband was a very smart man. Was he? These documents are perfect. Notarized, witnessed, no legal flaws whatsoever. Megan looked at me directly. Mrs. Carter, can you tell me what happened? Something that would trigger Clause 17b? I slowly told her. About the funeral. About what Andrew said. About the slap. Megan's face hardened. Do you have evidence? I have a bruise on my cheek. Did you photograph it? No. You need to do that now. And you need to go to the hospital for documentation. Today. She pulled out her phone and started taking notes. Any witnesses? Brooke. My daughter-in-law. Will she testify? I shook my head. Megan thought for a moment, then asked. What about a recording? What? Was the situation recorded? Or text messages? I rummaged through my bag and pulled out my phone. Then I was shocked. My voice memo app was running. Recording had started the morning of the funeral. I must have accidentally pressed it. I played the file. This isn't your house anymore, Mom. It's mine. This isn't your house. Get out. Smack. The sound was crystal clear. Megan's eyes widened. This is it. This is the evidence. She pulled out her laptop and started typing. Mrs. Carter, listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Okay. First, go to the hospital for documentation. Then you need to go to the bank. The bank? Cancel the automatic mortgage payment. My heart sank. But then, the house will go into default, and your son will be notified. Then Andrew will panic, and he'll contact you. Megan looked into my eyes. Mrs. Carter, this is war. A quiet war, but definitely war. Do you want to win? I hesitated for a long moment. Then I nodded. Yes. Then do exactly as I say. That afternoon, I went to the bank. Seattle First Bank. The place we'd been banking for 30 years. The teller was a young woman named Jessica. She smiled brightly. How can I help you? I'd like to cancel the automatic mortgage payment. Jessica's smile stiffened slightly. Oh, is there a problem? Personal reasons. I see. May I see your ID? I handed over my driver's license. Jessica typed on the computer, then frowned. Mrs. Carter, this is a joint account. If you stop the auto payment, the mortgage will become delinquent. I know. The house could be at risk of foreclosure. I know that too. Jessica looked at me for a moment. Something changed in her eyes. "Ma'am, are you sure you're okay?" I gave her a small smile. "I'm fine. Just process it, please." "All right." The keyboard clicked away cheerfully. A few minutes later, Jessica handed me a form. "Sign here. Starting this month, the auto payment will stop." I picked up the pen. My hand trembled slightly, but my signature was clear. Eileen Carter. Jessica took the form and said quietly, "Ma'am, if you're going through something difficult, our bank has counseling services." "Thank you. But I'm doing exactly what needs to be done." She didn't ask more questions. She just nodded and organized the paperwork. As I left the bank, my heart was pounding. Scared, but at the same time, liberated. For the first time, I was holding the reins of my own life. Back at the motel, I texted Megan. "It's done." Her reply came quickly. "Well done. Now we wait. In a month, the delinquency notice will go out. When he calls, don't apologize first. Just listen. Only listen." I put down my phone and looked out the window. The snow had stopped, and the sky was gray. In the parking lot, old cars lined up in rows, and a crow cawed in the distance. My cheek still hurt, but mixed in with that pain was something else. Not anger, not sadness. It was resolve. I took out Thomas's documents again. I traced his signature with my fingertip. "Thomas," I spoke quietly, "you were right. Andrew did hurt me." Wind rattled the window. "But you know what? I'm not alone anymore. These papers you left are with me." I put the documents back in the envelope and tucked it deep in my bag. The next day, I started looking for a small apartment. Motel bills were adding up. And Megan had said, "Mrs. Carter, this fight will take time. You need a stable place." I nodded. A week later, I signed a lease for a small studio in a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts of Seattle. Through the window, I could see a park, and in the mornings, I could hear birds. I didn't have much. A few clothes, a few photos, and the envelope Thomas gave me. That was all. That evening, as I unpacked boxes, I checked my phone. No contact from Andrew. Not for a whole month. They didn't seem to care that I was gone. Or maybe they were glad. But soon they'd find out. That silence isn't surrender. And that I hadn't disappeared. I was preparing. A month passed faster than I expected. During that time, I did nothing. Or rather, I appeared to do nothing. But inside, something was hardening. The new apartment was quiet. In the mornings, I could hear children heading to school through the window, and in the evenings, the smell of cooking from next door would drift over. I slowly built my daily routine within those sounds. I grocery shopped just enough for myself. I borrowed books from the library and walked in the park. Sometimes I'd sit on a bench and watch pigeons pecking at seeds. People might think I looked lonely. But I wasn't lonely. I was waiting. And waiting is different from loneliness. A text came from Megan. "Mrs. Carter, the delinquency notice was sent today. It'll reach your son within 2 days." I put down my phone and made tea. Chamomile. Thomas's favorite. I sat by the window with my cup. The sun was setting. The sky turned orange. So it begins. I spoke to myself. That night, I went to bed early. I wasn't curious about tomorrow. I already knew what would happen. 2 days later, my phone rang. "Andrew." I stared at the screen. The vibration pulsed in my palm. Once, twice, 3 times. I didn't answer. Megan had told me, Don't answer the first call. See how desperate they are. The call ended, and soon a text came. Mom, please answer. It's urgent. I read the message and turned my phone face down. Then I started washing dishes. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. It rang 3 times. I still didn't answer. 5 hours later, that evening, a text came from Brooke. Mother, please contact us. This is important. Please. I read the text and sighed softly. Then I called Megan. Should I answer? Not yet. Wait one more day. Make them tell you why first. Okay. I hung up and ate dinner. Alone. Slowly. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I remembered Andrew as a child. When he was 5, he fell off his bike while learning to ride. His knee was scraped and bleeding. I ran over and held him. It's okay, Mommy's here. He cried in my arms. For a long time, Thomas said beside me, Eileen, you're such a good mother. But you know, sometimes kids need to learn to get up by themselves. I didn't understand then why it was bad to immediately comfort a fallen child. But now I think I understand. I ran to Andrew every time he fell. So he never learned to get up on his own. This time, I wouldn't run. Whether he got up by himself or stayed down. The next afternoon, Andrew called again. I took a deep breath and answered. Hello, Mom. Andrew's voice was sharp, rushed and desperate. Why haven't you been answering? I've called so many times. I was busy. Busy? Mom, this isn't the time for jokes. I said nothing. I just listened. Mom, we got a weird letter from the bank. The mortgage is delinquent, and they say if we don't pay this month, they'll start foreclosure proceedings. Is that so? What do you mean, is that so? What's going on? Why didn't the auto payment go through? I canceled it. Silence on the other end. What did you say? The auto payment. I canceled it a month ago. Why? Because it's my money. Mom, that doesn't make any. Andrew. I said his name quietly. It's your house, right? Then you pay the mortgage. Mom, it's none of my business. I already left the house. Mom. Andrew's voice shook. Please, don't do this. Let's talk. I am talking. No, in person. Mom, please. I looked out the window. Rain was starting to fall. I'll think about it. Mom. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I had no regrets. I texted Megan. I answered. He wants to meet. Her reply came quickly. Meet him, but in a public place. And don't go alone. I'll come with you. 2 days later, we agreed to meet at a downtown cafe. That afternoon, I arrived at the cafe with Megan. It had large windows. People passed by outside. Megan didn't sit next to me, she sat behind me. Don't let them know I'm here. I'll step in if needed. Okay. I ordered a latte and waited. 10 minutes later, Andrew walked in. Brooke followed behind him. Andrew stopped when he saw me. Mom. Sit. Megan's voice was cold. Andrew and Brooke sat across from us. Brooke didn't look at me. She fiddled with her phone instead. Andrew kept staring at me. Mom, you look thinner. Are you eating? I'm fine. Where are you staying? A small apartment. Can you give me the address? Why? Andrew bit his lip. Mom, I'm really sorry. I took a sip of coffee. I didn't respond. I was so wrong that day. I don't even know why I did that. What about Brooke? What? Is Brooke sorry too? Andrew looked down. Brooke's been quiet lately. I see. I looked out the window. Rain still fell. Andrew, what are you going to do for me? What? The mortgage. It's $100,000. Are you going to pay it? Andrew's face went pale. Mom, I don't have that kind of money. Then sell the house. Sell it. Yes. Sell the house, pay off the loan, and start fresh with what's left. Mom, how can we? I looked at him directly. Or should I turn the auto payment back on? Andrew's eyes lit up. Really? Mom, you'd really do that? On one condition. Anything. I paused, then spoke slowly. Apologize to me. Properly. For everything you did that day. Andrew nodded. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I was so angry. After Dad died, I wasn't thinking straight. Is that an excuse? No. You hit me. Andrew covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook. Mom, I was out of my mind. Please forgive me. Please. I watched him for a long time. Then I pulled a document from my bag. Read this. Andrew took the paper. His eyes widened, and his face went white. What? What is this? Your father left it. The Supplemental Will. Clause 17b? Andrew's hands shook as he read. Color drained from his face. Mom, this is. If you hurt me, your inheritance gets revoked. But this was before Dad died. Right. Your father knew. He knew you'd do this. Andrew put the paper down. His hands trembled. Mom, please. This isn't fair. What isn't? Dad didn't trust me. I'm his son. I sighed. Andrew, your father loved you. But he didn't trust Brooke. Understand the difference. Andrew couldn't say anything. I stood up. Think about it. If you want to keep the house, do it with your own strength. Without my help. Mom, wait. And Andrew. I turned to look at him. Next time you come to me, bring a real apology. Just saying, sorry, isn't enough. I left the cafe. Megan followed me out. Outside, rain still fell. But my heart was clear. That night, I checked my phone. There was a text from Andrew. Mom, I really regret it. What should I do? I didn't reply. Instead, I called Megan. What happens now? We wait, Mrs. Carter, until they make their next move. Will they try to keep the house? Probably. But they can't. They don't have the money. And then? Then you win. Quietly. I looked out the window. The rain had stopped, and the moon was out. Quietly. Yes, I was winning quietly. Just as Thomas had taught me. A week later, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. Hello? Is this Mrs. Carter? This is Melinda from Seattle First Bank. Yes, that's me. Ma'am, I'm calling about the delinquent mortgage. Are you aware of the situation? Yes. Then, are you willing to discuss resolution options? I paused. Can't we just sell the house? Yes, that is an option, but... Melinda's voice became cautious. Ma'am, have you discussed this with the other co-owner? You mean my son? Yes. No, that's his problem. I see. Then, one more question. Would you be willing to relinquish your rights to the property? No. My voice was firm. I protected that house for 30 years. My name is on it. I'm not giving up my rights. Understood, Mrs. Carter. The process will continue. Thank you for your time. The call ended. I put down my phone and took a deep breath. My heart was racing, but I wasn't afraid. Instead, I felt alive. 3 days later, a text came from Megan. Mrs. Carter, look at this. A link was attached. I clicked it. Brooke's Instagram account appeared. On the screen was a photo of their newly decorated living room. White curtains, gold frames, a new chandelier. The caption read, "Fresh start in our forever home #new beginnings #blessed #home renovation." I stared at the screen. It was our house. The one Thomas and I had lived in for 30 years. The wooden floor Thomas had installed himself was still there, but the family photo I'd hung by the fireplace was gone. In its place was a wedding photo of Brooke and Andrew. My chest sank. Not so much pain as emptiness. They'd gotten a delinquency notice and were still decorating the house. As if nothing was wrong. I scrolled down. Comments lined up. "Gorgeous. So happy for you guys. This is goals. You two deserve it." I put down my phone. My hands shook. But I didn't cry. Instead, I called Megan. I saw it. "Mrs. Carter, are you okay?" "Yes. That sounds like a lie." I sighed. "Megan, honestly, I'm angry. So angry." "Of course you are. But you know what?" I looked out the window. The sun was setting. "This anger feels like proof that I'm right." "Exactly, Mrs. Carter. And you'll use that anger properly. Soon." "When?" "Next week, we'll call a family meeting. Formal legal notice." "A family meeting?" "Yes. To discuss important matters related to the estate distribution. Your son, daughter-in-law, and you. All three need to be there." My heart pounded. "What do I need to do?" "Nothing. I'll prepare everything. You just need to show up." "Megan." "Yes? Thank you." "You're welcome, Mrs. Carter. I'm just doing my job." "And you know what?" Megan's voice softened. "I like being on the side of people like you. It's the right thing to do." After hanging up, I sat for a long time. Brooke's Instagram kept coming to mind. Those glamorous photos, those captions pretending happiness. They thought I'd given up. Because I'd quietly disappeared, they thought it was over. But they didn't know. Silence isn't surrender. Quiet is preparation. And soon, that preparation would be complete. A week later, a thick envelope arrived in my mailbox. Megan's law firm name was on it. I opened the envelope. Inside were notices for the family meeting and preparation documents. Date November 18, 2:00 p.m. Location Dale and Associates Law Office. Attendees Andrew Carter, Brooke Carter, Eileen Carter. Agenda Final discussion of Thomas Carter estate distribution and property matters. I read the documents slowly. Then I looked at the calendar. Today was November 11th. 1 week left. I opened my closet. At the very back hung a black suit. The one I'd worn to Thomas's funeral. I took it out and laid it on the bed. Then I stood in front of the mirror. My reflection had changed. Thinner than before, but my eyes were sharper. My wrinkles were deeper, but my jawline was firmer. "Eileen," I spoke to my reflection. "You're almost there. Just a little more strength." The mirror didn't answer. But I knew. I was ready. That night, I took out Thomas's photo. From our wedding day. He had an awkward smile, and I was holding his arm, laughing. "Thomas," I spoke quietly, "it'll be over next week. Thanks to what you prepared." Thomas in the photo kept smiling. "Andrew has changed so much. He's not the boy I knew." I stroked the photo. "But you know what? I've changed too. The old me couldn't have done this. I would have just endured, tried to understand, and forgiven." Tears welled up. "But now I know. Forgiveness and submission are different." Love and sacrifice are different. I held the photo to my chest. Thank you, Thomas, for protecting me. Wind blew outside. The window rattled slightly. I put the photo back in the drawer and turned off the light. Then I went to bed. In my dream, I saw young Andrew, the child who fell off his bike. In the dream, I didn't run to him. I just watched from a distance. The child cried, then slowly got up, dusted off his knees and got back on the bike, then pedaled away. I cried in the dream. But when I woke up, there were no tears. My pillow wasn't wet. But in my heart, there was certainty. Soon, truth would have its say. And I would be there. Quietly, but certainly. November 18th is approaching. That day, everything will be decided. On the morning of November 18th, I woke early. Before sunrise, I dressed in front of the mirror. Black suit, white blouse, small pearl earrings. My hands trembled. But I didn't stop. The law office was on the 15th floor downtown. As the elevator climbed, I took deep breaths. My reflection in the mirror looked pale. It's okay. You can do this, I spoke to myself. The elevator doors opened. Megan was waiting in the lobby. Mrs. Carter, you're here. Yes. Are you ready? I nodded. Megan lightly touched my shoulder. You don't have to do anything. I'll handle everything. Just sit there. Understood? Yes. And you know. Megan looked into my eyes. You've already won. It's already over. I smiled slightly. We walked to the conference room. The conference room was smaller than I expected. One long table, 6 chairs, and a city view through the window. Water bottles sat on the table, and a clock hung on the wall. I could hear the ticking. Tick, tick, tick. I sat at the end of the table. Megan sat beside me. We waited. 5 minutes later, the door opened. Andrew walked in. Brooke followed behind. Andrew froze when he saw me. Mom, sit down. Megan's voice was cold. Andrew and Brooke sat across from us. Brooke didn't look at me. She fidgeted with her phone instead. Andrew kept staring at me. Mom, you look really tired. Are you eating properly? I didn't respond. Megan pulled out a stack of documents. All right, let's begin. Her voice filled the room. This meeting has been convened for legal discussion regarding the estate distribution of the late Thomas Carter. In attendance are spouse Eileen Carter, heir Andrew Carter, and his spouse Brooke Carter. Brooke looked up. Why'd I have to be here? I'm not a direct heir. You're affected by the assets, ma'am. Megan spread out the documents. First, let's review the contents of the primary will. Thomas Carter specified that his home be inherited by his son, Andrew Carter. Andrew nodded. Right. That's what Dad wanted. However, Megan pulled out another document. A supplemental will exists. The room went quiet. Andrew's face hardened. What? What is that? This document has the same legal force as the primary will and contains clauses that can modify inheritance under certain conditions. Megan slid the document toward Andrew. Read it, especially Clause 17b. Andrew's hands shook as he picked up the paper. Brooke looked over his shoulder. Their faces went progressively whiter. This can't be right. Brooke's voice was sharp. This isn't fair. This was written before Dad even died. It's legally valid. Megan was calm. It's notarized, witnessed. Thomas Carter created this document voluntarily while of sound mind. But this is, and Megan looked at me. The conditions triggering Clause 17B have been met. Andrew looked up. What are you talking about? Abuse or eviction? Mr. Andrew Carter, you committed physical violence against your mother and evicted her from the residence without consent. No, that was a misunderstanding. Andrew jumped up. I was just angry. After Dad died, I wasn't thinking straight. Sit down. Megan's voice was firm. Andrew slowly sat. We have evidence. Megan placed a small speaker on the table. My heart raced. What? What is that? Brooke's voice trembled. An audio recording. From November 4th, the day of the funeral. Megan pressed play. Sound came from the speaker. Crackle. Mom, do you know how the title to this house is set up? Andrew's voice. Crystal clear. Andrew's face went white. This isn't your house anymore, Mom. It's mine. Andrew, your father's casket is still in there. My voice too. Shaking but distinct. I know. That's why I'm telling you now. After the funeral, you need to leave. Brooke covered her mouth. This isn't your house. Get out. And then, smack. The slap echoed. The room froze. No one moved. Megan stopped the speaker. Is this sufficient? Andrew covered his face with his hands. Brooke just stared out the window. I looked at them. My chest ached, but no tears came. Mr. Andrew Carter. Megan spoke. According to Clause 17B, all your inheritance rights are immediately revoked. All assets, including the house, are transferred to spouse Eileen Carter. No. Brooke shouted. This is insane. That's our house. We remodeled it, we spent our money. Remodeling costs are personal expenses. They have no bearing on ownership. And Megan pulled out another document. According to the property deed, this house was jointly owned by Thomas Carter and Eileen Carter. Joint tenancy with right of survivorship. Meaning, the moment Thomas Carter died, his share automatically transferred to Eileen Carter. Andrew looked up. So, it was never mine to begin with? Correct. Megan nodded. You didn't inherit anything. You just saw house on the estate inventory. But actual ownership had already transferred to your mother. Andrew dropped his head on the table. Brooke stood up. I can't listen to any more of this. I'm leaving. Sit down. Megan's voice was icy. We're not finished. Brooke sat back down with shaking hands. Megan looked at me. Mrs. Carter, would you like to say anything? I slowly lifted my head. I looked at Andrew. He was crying. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Andrew. My voice was quiet but solid. You thought I was weak, didn't you? No. Because I was quiet, because I endured, you thought I was weak. Andrew couldn't say anything. But you know what? I stood up. Quiet isn't weakness. It's preparation. Brooke looked at me. Her eyes were cold. So what are you going to do? Throw us out on the street? No. I shook my head. I didn't come here for revenge. Then what? I brought the truth. I pulled documents from my bag. This is a sale contract for the house. Andrew's eyes went wide. What? I signed yesterday. With the Elder Protection Foundation. What's that? A foundation for abused senior women. They bought the house. Cash. Brooke stood up abruptly. This is crazy. Without our consent. Consent isn't needed. Megan said. Mrs. Eileen Carter is the owner. Brooke closed her mouth. Andrew asked in a trembling voice. Then, where do we go? I looked at him. That's for you to decide, Andrew. It's time for you to stand on your own. Mom, I spent 30 years picking you up. I ran to you every time you fell. But now, I can't do that anymore. My voice shook. You're an adult now. Take responsibility for your own life. Andrew burst into tears. Mom, please. Just one more chance. I shook my head. I already gave you a chance. On the day of your father's funeral. I picked up my bag. Megan, please handle the rest. Yes, Mrs. Carter. I walked toward the door. Mom. Andrew shouted. I didn't turn around. Mrs. Carter. Brooke's voice too. But I didn't stop. I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. Got on the elevator. As the doors closed, my legs gave out. I leaned against the wall and breathed deeply. Tears welled up but didn't fall. The elevator reached the first floor. The doors opened, and I walked out. Sunlight was blinding. Cold wind blew. I stood in that wind for a long time. Then I started walking. Slowly. Back home, I sat on the sofa. My phone rang. Megan. Mrs. Carter, all procedures are complete. Thank you, Mrs. Carter. Are you okay? I paused. I don't know. But I don't regret it. You did the right thing, Mrs. Carter. Really? Megan. Yes? Am I a bad mother? I heard a sigh on the other end. No, Mrs. Carter. You're a strong woman. And you were a good mother. Too good, which is why your son never learned to stand on his own. Tears came. Thank you. You're welcome. Rest well, Mrs. Carter. The call ended. I looked out the window. The sun was setting. The sky turned orange. I took out Thomas's photo. Thomas. I spoke quietly. It's over. Everything you prepared for is done. He smiled in the photo. Now, where do I go? No answer came. But I knew. It was time to start my own life. The house sold faster than expected. Everything was finalized 30 days after the contract. The Elder Protection Foundation representative was a kind middle-aged woman. Mrs. Carter, this house will be put to good use. I promise you that. I nodded. That's what I wanted. I remember the last day I entered that house. Early December. Snow was falling. My hand trembled as I turned the key. The door opened, and I walked in slowly. Empty. Andrew and Brooke had already removed everything. No new chandelier, no gold frames, no white curtains. Only bare walls and old wooden floors remained. I stood in the middle of the living room. This was where Thomas's casket had been. Where Andrew had hit me. My footsteps echoed. My own footsteps. I went to the kitchen. The sink was still there, and through the window I could see the yard. The maple tree stood there, bare branches only. Goodbye. I spoke quietly. I'm leaving now. We lived here a long time, didn't we? Thank you. Wind rattled the window. I slowly climbed to the second floor. The stairs creaked. Like always. I opened the bedroom door. The room where Thomas and I had slept for 30 years. No bed, no closet, no curtains. Just empty space. I stood by the window. Snow continued falling outside. Thomas. I spoke to myself. We were happy, weren't we? No answer came, but I knew. We were happy. Definitely. I pulled a small envelope from my pocket. Inside was one of Thomas's photos. From our wedding day. I placed that photo on the windowsill. Stay here. Help this house protect others. Then I turned away. Without looking back, I went downstairs. At the front door, I put the key in the mailbox. The foundation staff would pick it up later. I got in my car and started the engine. I looked at the house in the rearview mirror. A gray house standing quietly in the snow. It had held my life, but not anymore. I drove away and didn't look back. I took a flight to Alaska a week later. Window seat. Sunlight poured over the clouds. The passenger next to me started a conversation. First time in Alaska? No, I was born there. Oh, going back home. To see family? No, just looking for peace. The person smiled. It's a peaceful place. I smiled too. When I landed at Anchorage Airport, I felt the air was different. Cold, clean, and quiet. I rented a car and drove north for 2 hours. A small lakeside town. Population under 300. The realtor was waiting at the meeting spot. Mrs. Carter? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Shall we go see the cabin? Yes. We walked along a forest path. Sunlight filtered through the trees. 10 minutes later, the lake appeared. And by the lake stood a small cabin. Built of wood. Red roof, small chimney, a wooden bench in the front yard. What do you think? The realtor asked. I stared at the house for a long time. It's perfect. Moving was simple. I didn't have much. A few clothes, a few books, Thomas's photo, and the brown envelope. That was all. The first night, I lit the fireplace. The sound of burning wood filled the room. Through the window, I could see the lake. Moonlight sparkled on the water. I sat on the bench with tea. Chamomile tea. Thomas, it's nice here. I spoke to myself. You would have liked it. Wind rustled the trees, and an owl hooted. For the first time in so long, I felt at ease. My new routine took shape slowly. Mornings, I walked by the lake. Watched the mist rise while drinking coffee. Afternoons, I read books. Evenings, I cooked. Just enough for myself. Sometimes I went to the town library. The librarian was a kind elderly woman. You're new here, aren't you? Welcome. Thank you. Our town is quiet. You'll like it. I already do. She smiled. A week later, I ordered a small microphone. Online. I wanted to start a podcast. My first recording was in early February. I sat by the fireplace and turned on the microphone. Hello, everyone. My name is Eileen Carter. My voice trembled slightly. Starting today, I want to share my story with you. True stories. Things I've learned in life. I took a deep breath. I'm 66 years old. I lost my husband, was betrayed by my son, and left my home. But you know what? I'm okay. More than okay, actually. I looked out the window. Snow was falling. People think getting old means getting weak. Because we're quiet, because we endure, they think we're weak. But that's not true. I lowered my voice. Quiet isn't weakness. It's preparation. And when preparation is complete, we reclaim our lives. I stopped recording. My hands shook, but my heart felt light. I uploaded the file. The title was Grandma True Stories. The response came slowly. At first, 10 views, 20 views. A month later, over 100. Comments started appearing. Grandma, this sounds like my story. I'm going to try harder too. Your voice is so warm. Thank you. Quiet is preparation. I'll remember that. I read every comment. And replied to each one. Thank you. You're strong too. The podcast became part of my routine. Twice a week, I sat in front of the microphone. And told stories. My stories. Memories with Thomas, Andrew's betrayal, the courtroom victory, and peace in this cabin. People listened. And I wasn't lonely. One day in March, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mom? My heart stopped. Andrew. Andrew? Yes. It's me. Silence. How did you get my number? I asked Megan. Promised I'd only contact you once. I see. Mom, I just wanted to say something. Andrew's voice trembled. I'm really sorry. I understand now how wrong I was. I looked out the window. Spring was coming. What about Brooke? We separated 3 months ago. I see. I'm living in a small apartment now. Alone. I started working again too. Good. Mom. Andrew's voice broke. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just want you to be happy. I closed my eyes. Andrew. Yes? I am happy. Really? Yes. Really. Andrew couldn't speak for a while. Thank you, Mom. Sincerely. Andrew. Yes? Living alone, is it hard? A little. That's what becoming an adult means. Falling down, getting up, walking again. Yes. Live well, on your own strength. I'll try. That's enough. I was about to hang up, then stopped. Andrew. Yes, Mom? Later. Much later, when you can truly stand on your own. My voice shook. Call me then. We'll have coffee. Andrew burst into tears. Thank you, Mom. Thank you so much. The call ended. I put down the phone and sat for a long time. Tears came. But they weren't sad tears. They were tears of letting go. That night, I recorded again. Today I want to talk about forgiveness. I spoke slowly into the microphone. Forgiveness isn't for them. It's for us. It's about setting down a heavy burden. Stars were visible outside. But forgiveness doesn't mean going back. We must maintain boundaries. While keeping peace. The fireplace crackled. Getting older means becoming quieter. But in that quietness is strength. The weight of years lived, the solidity of lessons learned. I lowered my voice. We're not weak. We just fight differently now. We choose silence instead of shouting, leaving instead of anger, peace instead of revenge. I stopped recording. Then uploaded it. Spring came. Flowers began blooming by the lake. Yellow dandelions, white daisies, purple wildflowers. I walked every morning. Birds chirped, fish jumped, wind rustled the trees. The cabin was small but sufficient. I was living the life I wanted here. Quiet but meaningful. One day, I received a letter at the town post office. From the Elder Protection Foundation. I opened it. Dear Mrs. Carter, the home you donated is currently providing temporary shelter to 3 senior women. Thanks to you, they are preparing for a fresh start in a safe place. Thank you. The foundation team. I held the letter to my chest. Good. I spoke to myself. Yes, that's how the house should be used. Today, I'm sitting here. In my lakeside cabin, by the fireplace, with a warm cup of tea. The sun is setting outside. The sky turns pink. My life isn't perfect. Some days I'm still lonely. Some days I miss Andrew. But I have no regrets. I made my choices. Choices that protected my peace. And in that peace, I found myself again. I want to tell you one last thing. As we get older, we become quieter. Sometimes the world makes us invisible. But don't fear the quiet. Quiet isn't weakness. It's preparation. And when preparation is complete, we reclaim our lives. Thank you for listening to my story to the end. I hope this story brings comfort to some and courage to others. Thank you to everyone who subscribed, liked, and turned on notifications. Because of you, I wasn't alone. I'll see you in the next story. Stay healthy and stay peaceful. Thank you.